Regrets? No. But cringeworthy mistakes? Yes. And there have been rooms where I had to earn the right to have an opinion because I was young. Jealous people will be mean. So being able to differentiate between feedback and criticism, I think is extraordinarily important. I also say if you're lucky enough to have help, use the help.
Welcome to Loud and Lifted, the Women in Leadership show where we trade fluff for practical tools. I'm your host, Betsy Ham. Today, I am joined by Katherine Naylor Pullman, founder of Our Third Place, a friendship-first community turning networking into real belonging. We dig into brave, nonlinear career moves, the kind that look risky on a resume, but build real founder confidence. Mentorship that multiplies, the yes, I'll work for you one day kind, and how dinners with other women refill your cup and expand opportunities without the performative hustle. We'll also talk candidly about balancing motherhood and leadership by dropping perfection and asking for help. If you're here for women supporting women, female founder insights, and actionable career growth tactics, this one's for you. Welcome to Loud and Lifted, Katherine. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love the name of the podcast. And immediately it was like, this is such a great name.
This is right up your alley, right? Like you like to get loud, you like to get lifted, you like to lift other women. And that's what we're here to talk about is how you are building community with women. But before we get into that, we need to hear more about you and your journey so far.
Well, I mean, loud most definitely is how everyone describes me. I'm from New Jersey, so I can't help myself.
Say no more.
Yeah, say no more. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been about 2 months since I've decided to go full-time CEO and founder of Our Third Place. So we previously were the Media Dinner Club, and this was my side gig that I started about 3 years ago. And then this summer, I had this moment where the world just gave me all these signs, and I was like, okay, we're doing this full-time. So officially my full-time job, but my experience is in media, which is why we started as the Media Dinner Club, primarily in brand partnerships and actually a lot of startups. So most famously, Quibi was my version of business school.
Nice.
And then I was at Cameo. I most recently was at Hello Sunshine. But I think by going to The Messenger was another startup I was at. So I think what I've realized is that in my career, I've always been told, stop going to startups, stay in your lane. But the beautiful thing is now that because I was chasing the startup life, I now feel equipped to be running a startup. So that's where we are now. Okay. And I'm really, really excited for I'm already talking about 2026, but I'm excited for the end of this year in 2026.
So you just mentioned a bunch of awesome names and you've been involved in some really great concepts. And let's just be upfront here. How long ago did you graduate from college?
I graduated in 2018. So my long and winding career of 7 years. But I have about 7 logos on my resume, which shows you I have jumped around, which is the antithesis of what people tell you to do. And I'm really glad that I jumped around in my 20s because I really feel like I can take this risk in running a business because of all those experiences. But I did have some internships starting at the age of like 15. So we can say I've been in media for 15 years.
Oh yeah, that's some serious rounding up right there. So you're right. A lot of times in your journey, people will say, stick with the company, stay where you are. You don't want to be a resume jumper. So how did you have that confidence and make those decisions to take those opportunities?
I think I always took an educated guess. So it wasn't like I was just jumping around for the sake of jumping around. I was jumping around because I listened to the market and listened to what my passions were. So when I went to Quibi because at the time I was a talent assistant at one of the top talent agencies, and I started reading the Quibi scripts. I was like, wow, this is so interesting. For those who don't know, Quibi's whole idea was to create great content in very short snippets. So they were short scripts, but they really encapsulated my attention. So instead of just saying, oh yeah, this is interesting to me, I thought, wait, what is this company? Are they hiring? Where could I get my foot in the door here? Same with Cameo. Cameo was really, I kept hearing about them, and all my friends were ordering Cameos, especially during the pandemic, to get, those are the celebrity, like happy birthday videos where you can get a
Oh,
celebrity
okay.
to shout you out. And it was super popular during the pandemic because so many people weren't meeting up in person. It was such a nice, personal, fun touch to do. So I looked into it, and that's how I ended up there. So it was A, making educated risks, and then B, following what interested me and where my passions were at the moment.
Okay. That makes sense. And I love that, following where your passions were. Any regrets through the last 7 years?
It's funny. So I actually just texted my first boss. I landed in LA for ZCon. It was a conference that UTA puts on. I was just there. And every time I land in LA, I feel a little melancholy because I did live in LA the first couple of years out of college, and I did it all. I did everything I was supposed to do and not supposed to do, but I left pretty quickly. So I always have regret for the things I didn't do, but embarrassed by the things I did do. Anyway, so I actually texted my first boss and I was like, I was really bad at my job and I'm really sorry. I have dyslexia. So being a talent assistant was extraordinarily difficult for
Oh,
me because they literally roll calls. So it'll be like, call Betsy Ham. And then I'd have to be like, okay, how do I spell ham? And it's like, okay, in my head, ham looks like an NMMM. And like, I don't know if that's an N or an M or that I'm looking at. So the job itself was so hard on my brain that I honestly wasn't very good at my first job out of college. So regrets, no, but cringeworthy mistakes, yes.
which we
Yes.
all have, right?
But
I
we
mean,
all
we all
have
have those
them.
cringeworthy
Um,
moments.
but I think everything that I've done and did has led me to where I am today.
Sure.
So,
So do you think now, looking back, was it all sort of connected? Maybe not realizing at the time, but looking back, was it
oh,
sort of like,
totally. Totally. And even the things that I did in LA, like I went to the parties and I dated and I would go to all different parts of Los Angeles. One week I'd be in Barbara. The next weekend I'd be in Santa Monica. So I'd say, just running wild in your 20s is perfect because then when I met my partner, I knew he was my husband. And when I made the decision to become a mom, I knew I wanted to become a mom. Like I felt like I'd done a lot of things. So in that way, I do feel like it's all connected. I feel like I checked off a lot on my bucket list in my 20s.
nice, I love that. So because you've done so much at such a young age, do you ever feel like sometimes you have to maybe say or act that you're older because people don't maybe give you the credibility or the respect because you are young and you've been killing it all along?
Oh, thank you. I would not say killing it all along. I most definitely have had some peaks and valleys,
Of
as we
course.
all do. But I think I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about my age because there have been so many people who've said to me, stay in your lane, be quieter,
Hmm.
speaking of loud and lifted, that I have almost felt like I've had to make myself smaller. And I think my age has always had something to do with it. I had this one boss at Quibi, though, Marnie Shapiro, who looked at me and she says, Katherine, one day I'm going to work for you. So she was someone who, even when I was 24, was like, saw me as so much more than my age. But it takes one person to look at you as young and small for you to forget all the positive things anyone has ever told you. So I totally, there's most definitely a part of me that now introduces myself as a mom because it gives me more street cred. It's like, yeah, okay, if she's old enough to have a kid, then like she must be old enough to run a company, right?
Right.
But I think I surprise a lot when people hear I'm 30. There's always going to be some biases, some good and some
Sure.
bad.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I can totally relate to that. I was at a company and got promoted really quickly and was in my 20s and had people older than me, twice as my age, reporting to me. And you kind of get that chip on your shoulder of anytime that maybe you're not perfect, you mess something up, which we're all going to do. It's like, oh, because she's so young, she's so inexperienced. And that kind of becomes the reason. And I
Right.
would fight that too. And I would try to be more, I don't know, feel older, act older. And I got married young, so I at least had that. That like, well, I'm married, like,
Right,
not that young.
right, right.
So
No, totally. And I also think that when I was younger, there were times that you want to take down the younger person in the room, the bright eyed and bushy tailed young girl, because it's annoying. It's like,
right.
why is she asking another question?
No,
It's like the kid who asks where the homework is. It's like,
Yep.
teacher forgot to assign homework, to say that. So I actually had a conversation with this gal. I believe she's like 25. And there were some older women in her org who weren't being kind to her. And I heard about it. So I called her, and this is the first time I've ever said this to anyone. I said, I want to be your mentor.
Hmm.
And she was like, wait, what? And I'm like, I see so much potential in you. And the same exact thing happened to me. I want to be your mentor. And by the way, I'm someone who's kind of hard to get hold of some days because I just have so much going on. Most of the time when people ask to like pick my brain about my career, I just say, join our third place, go to a dinner. I swear you'll get more out of our community than having 30 minutes with me. So this was like a purposeful calling up this gal and saying, I want to mentor you because I know how important those first few years, having older women tell you that you are important and that your opinion counts, how much that matters. So I'm hoping to give back to this gal. She's amazing, and hopefully she has she's going to have an amazing career.
Right.
I'll work for her one day is what I told her. I told her what Marnie told me.
I love that. And you're so right. It's having somebody believe in you and support you. And I was lucky enough to have that too. But now it's, to your point, it's paying that back and making sure that we're supporting to me, the younger generation, the younger generation of leaders, because you can be made or broken, I guess, in your 20s and think like, oh, I don't have the opportunity, I don't have the ability, when it's just you don't have the confidence. So the
Right.
more that we can build it.
People will be mean.
Right.
People, like jealous people, will be mean.
Yep.
And that
Oh
is
gosh.
something my mom taught me in middle school. And unfortunately, it applies to high school, to college, to postgrad. Like, people can sometimes be mean. So
Absolutely. And
you're a
women,
young girl, and you feel like you can't keep on keeping on. Keep going. I promise. It gets better.
well, and you have a young daughter, so as she gets older, and I remember my oldest daughter being like 4 at daycare, and it was like the mean girl stuff started, and you're like, "What? At 4? This is starting now?" So the more you can build her confidence from day one, and as she grows up, that like, okay, it's gonna happen. Unfortunately, people are gonna be mean to them. So how they deal with it is I think our job to make sure we give them those tools.
I just, she was having a bad day. I mean, she's 6 months, but she was having a bad day. And I said to her, I was like, okay, I'm going to tuck you into your sleep sack so you can become a caterpillar. And tomorrow you get to be a new butterfly.
Aw.
It's like every day, whether you're an adult or a child, you get to cocoon yourself in bed. And the next day you can try on a new pair of wings. And I think I'm going to keep telling her that for like the rest of her life.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so great. Well, and the other part of that you just started to touch on and ties in nicely to the next part of this is having that community that surrounds you, that supports you. So tell
Yep.
us about Our Third Place.
Yes. So Our Third Place is a networking community for women in media and now finance. And our whole mission is to supercharge your network with friendship. So what I found 3 years ago was that if you are lucky enough to have friends in your industry, that's actually a very rare thing now, to have real friends. So what we're trying to create and we have created, is a community where your network becomes your friendship circle and where your connections become your community.
Hmm.
And I use those words, connection and community, very specifically because after the pandemic, what we saw was this influx of in-person opportunities. You have pickleball, you have run clubs, you have book clubs. Like, everyone rushed to be in person. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of people are connecting at a ton of different ways, but going that next level and making your connections in a community is actually a pretty hard thing to do. It takes time, it takes consistency, and it takes some sort of reciprocity. Like, you have to reciprocate with someone in order to feel like you're a real friend. So we put that into practice with Our Third Place because we are a repetitive dinner party series. So we have about 20 dinners every week in 37 cities. So if you're in New York, you can go to a dinner twice a week if you wanted to.
Oh.
That's our biggest chapter. But we are consistently we're showing up consistently, and we're giving them tools. We're practicing that reciprocity so that they feel like Our Third Place is a friend, and then they can go and make other friends within the community.
I love that. And so when they go to these dinners, is there a structure? Is it just dinner? Like, do you have programming?
It's really easy. We just have 3 rules at every table, which is 1, come as you are. So if you're an introvert, if you're an extrovert, if you need to cry for 2 hours, which I have cried multiple times at the dinners, if you need to order champagne because you just got promoted, like whatever you need for those 2 hours, it's phones down, with about 6 to 7 attendees. We rarely talk about titles. We usually just talk about their role in their company instead of saying VP versus assistant versus. So that's the first, come as you are. Second is use confidentiality. And the third is practice the pivot rule. So if you feel uncomfortable about anything happening at the table, you can say pivot, no questions asked.
Oh, interesting.
But besides that, it's just a girls' night out. I joke it's like a Sex in the City episode because like no subjects off the table, no one's on their phone, and everyone's a different personality.
Sure.
Just by nature of signing up for a dinner with strangers. And yeah, it's as simple as sign up for your dinner and show up.
And how do the conversations usually go? Is it all media finance? Does it get personal? Like, or is it just inclusive like that?
It's very personal.
Yeah.
But I'd say we talk about media for about 10 minutes and then we talk about babies, Botox, boobs, birth control. We're just the B club, apparently. But I mean, I kind of describe what we are as like the ultimate girls group chat, because when you need a doctor recommendation, when you need a new client recommendation, when you need like anything, a new recipe, you text your girlfriends. And what we've created is the ultimate girl group chat, because you go to these dinners, you make the friends, and then we continue the conversation through our Slack community. So all of our members are on Slack. And this morning I went to the Ask the Table Slack channel and asked something about women's health, just to see what people's opinion. It's a specific question, but I am really interested in creating speakeasies that are for women's health through our third place. So I just asked everyone, like, what would you want to know if you went to a speakeasy where no conversation is off the table about women's health? And we'll see what they say.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. So I joined your group I guess maybe a month or so ago, and I haven't made it to an actual dinner, but I enjoy the Slack conversation and the engagement. And it's fun just to look through and the introductions and the support, and somebody posts something or a question and there's, 3 or 4 people responding immediately. And it's at least nice that it gets you, for people like me who aren't down the street from a dinner party chapter, essentially, to know who's out there. And I've talked to several women like on Teams calls, which has been great. So it's just another way to connect the dots, essentially, of, look, we're all doing something that's similar, but at the same time, like, we're all women just trying to support each other and improve from a business perspective. So I found the group super supportive and engaging, and I'm only in virtual land. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. You can go to any of the dinners you want when you're traveling. So if you're heading anywhere, going to New York for a night, check it out and see if there's a dinner. It's like the best part. I mean, I just hosted a dinner in LA because I was there. It's like, anyone want to go to dinner? So that's kind of the beauty about being one of we call you guys our digital nomad members.
Nice.
So I love it. You can have that unofficial title.
Thank you. So where do you see this going? What are your goals for this in the next, let's say, a year or 2 years? Or further?
I'm pretty passionate about never letting sponsors come into the dinners, because that is what is really our secret sauce and our differentiator. With that being said, I think that we can create events with the same warmth and confidentiality and warmth. I think that's the word most women say when they leave our dinners. So like a speakeasy, a women's health speakeasy where your phone's away and you just talk about women's health for 2 hours. I want to do a Galentine's Day. I want to do an ornament exchange for Christmas. So I'm thinking about, I'd really like us to start events, but keep them intimate, different, and all about that warmth, and bring in sponsorships to those conversations so that we can provide the events for free for our members.
Nice.
That's where awesome. I see us being. Outside of just events, I see us showing up at tent poles. So we tested this at Advertising Week in New York, and we had a event first thing Monday morning from 8 to 10 at Macy's, and everyone got their makeup done, and you just got to meet 40 women in our community. And you got to do a little personal shopping. You got to see the space. But most importantly is that then you're going into Advertising Week with 40 familiar faces. That is such a game changer for a woman, like especially for conferences in Las Vegas and maybe internationally. Like when I went to CES at 24 years old, my eyes were so wide. I was like, what is going on? I would have loved to be able to know 40 other women there.
Sure.
So making it so that at every single temple event, we have some sort of morning activity that doesn't involve alcohol, where you can meet 40 to 60 women, I think is going to be really important for our membership. And the third thing we're thinking about is just becoming more of a tech-enabled company. I want it to be so simple to sign up and show up, and making hosting the dinner so easy. Just post. I want it to be as easy as making a reservation on Open Table.
Nice.
So I actually brought on two business partners who are wonderful. I met them through the community, which is a testament to the community itself, they're more focusing on the tech side of the business. I'm really excited to see how we grow.
I love that. And so you're obviously building this strong community of connection, and I of course like to talk about circles and the strength of that. So what if you have a friend who has been in a situation where it's not supportive? Maybe they're not feeling that, like from a company perspective, have you been there? Have you done that? Have you survived? Or just either friends who have done that? How do you get through that? And what do you suggest for women?
This is a particularly hard question for me because I am someone who's always had their job be part of their identity.
Hmm.
I just am someone who doesn't do work-life balance. My work is my life and my life is my work. There's always that. So this is a particularly hard question because I've really struggled with this. Like when I have a bad day at work, I'm bringing it home.
Hmm.
The advice I would give to someone is that think about what's happening to you and understand if it is a moment to learn. Like if someone's giving you real feedback, don't be afraid of feedback. Ask for feedback. Feedback is a beautiful, beautiful thing. If someone is giving you a critique that isn't going to make you a better leader or a better salesperson or just a better person, period, it's probably more of a reflection of them than it is of you. So being able to differentiate between feedback and criticism, I think is extraordinarily important. Because I think of criticism as a negative and feedback as a positive. And I would actually say if you are feeling like you're in an unhealthy environment at work, go and talk to your boss and say, this is how I'm feeling. What feedback do you have from me so that I can feel better in my day to day? And listen, if they aren't filling your cup, they as in the company as a whole,
Sure.
it's okay to pivot. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. But one other piece of advice I will say is have a coffee chat every single week. Have a coffee chat every single week. I don't care if you are in your dream job at the sickest company of all time. Have a coffee chat outside of your clients and outside of your network every single week so that if you're feeling uncomfortable at your job, if you need a getaway car, you now have, okay, let's say you have a coffee chat every week for 52 weeks and you need a getaway car at the end of 2026, you have 52 people you can talk to.
Totally agree with that. And, exposure is one of those things that comes up time and time again on these episodes and the importance of it and being intentional. I think we get stuck in our bubble, which is normal. You get stuck with your team or your company, but it's getting outside of that bubble and
Yeah,
making those connections because you never know. And to
you
your
never
point,
know.
you could be as happy as possible in that role, but maybe there's something better. And let's be honest, most jobs come from networking. you
Right.
know, people post on LinkedIn or whatever, but you probably have a better chance if you know somebody or, get that call directly than just applying for jobs. So I think that's so important. And we hear that time and time again, but you have to be intentional. You have to take the time. And I love that you're saying once a week, reach out to somebody.
I mean, honestly, just go to every single Our Third Place dinner in your chapter. You're good
Right.
to go. I
Right.
mean, I hosted like 60 dinners my first like 14 months of doing this. Okay, 60 times the 7 people who were going to each of my dinners. Like can someone do that math for me? Is that cool? I'm not the math person. This is the one problem I have with being a founder.
Right.
I'm like, what's 6 times 7?
Yeah.
Like that's another thing we're building in the back end of when you become a member of Our Third Place, you can see all of the dinners you've gone to in the past. So essentially, you are making a Rolodex of women you've met in person. And that is so amazing to have that tool. So you're not just going on LinkedIn and you're like, how do I know that person? It's like, I can go to the back of I can go to my profile on Our Third
Oh,
Place
cool.
and see every single woman I've ever had dinner with. And that's really, really amazing. Not just, shout out my own product,
Sure.
but
No, that's very cool.
go
So
to
do you ever
go
have
to
women
dinner.
who show up to this who are like totally outside their comfort zone and nervous to be there, and then,
Yes.
by the end they're cool. So
Yes. That's like the number one story that we get is like, I either A, didn't want to go because I was exhausted, or B, I was really nervous because I'm an introvert. And I'm telling you, the best dinners happen when you're overtired. And like, I even sometimes don't have it in me to go to the dinners. And I'm like, "Ugh, I'm so tired. I just want to go to bed." And then it's always those dinners that are the best, because what I'm realizing is that what I need is getting my cup refilled. And because we aren't networking at these dinners and more just enjoying time with girlfriends, you leave so much more ready to take on the next day.
I love that. And because you're right, it fills your cup. And sometimes when you're at networking events that you're trying to meet Mr. So and so because they have a connection,
Yeah.
whatever, it's a lot of pressure and a lot of like, oh, I got to have this conversation. I got to make
Right.
sure I say this. There's no pressure in this situation. You guys were
Right.
there just to connect and to build community, which takes out that
Right.
like, oh, I have to make sure I say everything perfect and hit my elevator pitch.
Right. Well, that's another thing that a lot of people are taught is like, when you go to that cocktail hour, you have to leave with at least five new connections, and but like, make networking less formulaic. Just go to the dinner and see who you meet, because sometimes you might sit at there and be like, okay, I have nothing in common with any of these women, and that didn't lead me to a new lead or a new job. I promise you, one of those women will come back into your life at some point. Like, it's okay for the dinners not to be super calculated,
Sure.
because there's just this like magic in the ambiguity around it, and like, we don't get to live in ambiguity anymore, especially with like AI and everything so calculated. Just enjoy that you just get to have dinner with five to six, like six to seven
Right.
women, just have
Well,
fun with that.
and you made a good point, and I have experience, and somebody I was just talking to this morning mentioned this too, that somebody they met 20, 30 years ago, whatever, it was a long time ago, casually kept in touch, ended up giving them a really amazing career opportunity. And it was, it wasn't like they were talking on a weekly, monthly basis, but they had this connection and just sort of kept it lit, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But you never know where things are going to go. And you might meet people and it doesn't really go anywhere, but you get a good connection and you start following them on LinkedIn or whatever it is. But sometimes you just don't know where that's going to go.
Yeah. My fun fact is that I actually met my doula through Our Third Place. She is an ad tech as her main job, and her COVID gig was getting her doula licensing. And she's like a cool, chill media gal. And she was in my hospital and she in my delivery room. So I did not think going to dinner that night I was going to end up with a doula, and I did. So
That's amazing. Yeah, you never
yeah,
know. And sometimes it's just not immediate, but it comes back around. You're like, oh, okay. Sometimes it's funny how the world's
yeah,
connected. And people talk about being a small world. It really, truly is. And I think that's important to be out there and to not burn bridges, right? It doesn't mean you have to be tolerating bad behavior, but just don't burn bridges. Like you never
yeah.
know where that person's going to come back around. And you're like, oh, wait, I thought I was done with you over here.
Right,
Now you're back.
right, right.
That's awesome. So since you have a daughter, what's your goal that you can think about her in, my gosh, 15, 20 years being in a profession? Like, how do you want to leave or not leave? How do you want to make this place better for your daughter?
I'm worried about women's rights,
Mm,
period. You know what? I'm going to pivot this question.
go for it.
I'm going to use the pivot role, because for me, there's so much pressure on moms to think about the future and where they're going to go to school and what they're going to eat today. And I'm just going to say, I'm just going to keep on loving her. And I hope that the world keeps on loving her back.
I love that. That's so true. And so you mentioned about your integration. Have you figured it out now 6 months in to to being a mom about how that integration works? Now, not only do you have a husband and your social life and whatever, but now you have a baby too. So
Yeah.
how's the integration been working for you?
So far, it's been lovely. Honestly, I have a tribe. My parents are down the street from us. My in-laws are like a couple subway stops above us. My sister was home all summer. So I'm really lucky that I have such a tribe. And I was so sick when I was pregnant that
Mm.
this is so easy compared to being pregnant,
Oh,
just like mentally, physically. But I don't put the pressure on her or me or us to be perfect. She doesn't want to go to bed. Okay, don't come sleep in my bed. Like, I'm just not following it by the rules. And I also just having a tribe has been everything. So I'd say
Totally
the
agree.
integration has actually been pretty easy. The first big thing that was really hard is that I had to miss one of my best friend's bachelorettes this weekend. And that was the first time like I purposefully had to change my life because I'm a mom. That was hard. And I just couldn't. I was coming back from LA. Libby's had COVID and croup cough. So I've had COVID and croup cough. We're both still recovering. And I called Nikki and I was just like, I don't think I can come. I don't think I can leave her for 4 nights. So that was a little bit of a reality check.
Sure.
But overall, I think because I'm not putting pressure on us or our family unit to be perfect, that it's been pretty
That's
nice
great.
integration.
And you're right. You nailed it. It's a tribe. Like no one's doing this on their own. You're never going to be super mom and super wife and super CEO. So it's just having that grace for yourself and also having the support. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a deal breaker for sure.
Yeah. I also say if you're lucky enough to have help, use the help. Like I
100%.
think there's this idea that you have to be super mom. It's like, no. Like tonight, my friend invited me to an event. Probably not what I have time for tonight, but my mom is here. So I text her, I'm like, can you watch Libby for an hour? And she's like, yep. Not necessarily the help I wanted to ask for in that moment, but I know that this is important for my growth as a leader to understand the candidates
Sure.
better. So I'm asking for help. And my mom said, yep, in 2 seconds. So ask for help, even if you are not in the mood to.
Yeah. And let's be honest, your mom's probably thrilled to watch her anytime.
Maybe, yeah.
All the
She's a pretty
grandmothers are
easy
always
baby.
in.
I will say that too. She's like the chillest little baby.
And it's asking because we're guilty of that. I know I think back to times where I was trying to do it all and I wouldn't ask my mom, ask my husband, ask the neighbor because you're like, "Oh, I just don't want to be a burden. And it's usually not.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just not holding back and asking it. And well, this has been awesome. I greatly appreciate your time, Catherine. So if people want to learn more about Our Third Place or connect with you, where can they do that?
Just go to o3p.com. You can I will actually give you a code for 1 month free for any of your
Awesome.
listeners so they can check it out. And then just follow me on LinkedIn. But would love to have you and your followers to our dinners.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to meeting you in person at a dinner here in the next few months. We
Yes,
can definitely
yes.
make a New York trip on the
Yeah,
list.
please do.
All right. Thank you so much for
Thanks for
being
having
here.
me.
A huge thanks to Catherine for being here with us today. Her insights, grit, and grace far exceed her years, and I can't wait to see the impact she continues to make. Catherine is offering our listeners 1 free month to join Our Third Place using code KNPO3P. Visit Our Third Place for details. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend, schedule your next networking event, and please subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, stay loud and keep lifting those around you.